On November 4th, 2016, the city of Chicago celebrated something that hadn't happened in over 100 years. The Chicago Cubs winning the World Series after what was arguably one of the greatest baseball games of all time and the greatest Game 7 in the World Series, and allowing their fans to celebrate for the first time in a lifetime. And they pulled out all the stops, going into extra innings, a rain delay, tension, everyone at the edge of their seat, glued to their TV screens the entire time. We're going to dive into this game and how it all broke down on Daily Sports History. Welcome to Daily Sports History. I'm Ethan Reese, your guide as you daily learn more about sports history, increasing your sports knowledge. And today's trivia question to listen out for is, where does the Cubs World Series parade rank in size for the largest gathering of human people ever? So coming into the season, starting in the beginning of the 2000s, all these curses started to be broken in baseball. The White Sox had broken the Black Sox curse. The Red Sox had broken the curse of the Bambino. And there was two other teams that still had, quote, curses on them. The curse of the Billy Goat was still hanging over the Cubs, and they hadn't won in over 108 years. And the Cleveland Indians hadn't won in almost 70 years. Both these teams had come into the season with hopes, as every team did, that they would break this curse. And they each had great seasons. The Cubs led the league in wins with 105, and their entire starting infield made the All-Star team. And the Cleveland Indians had a great season as well, winning their division. And each team made their way through the playoffs to battle each other in the World Series, knowing that no matter what, one fan base was getting the first championship in a lifetime. And it started out with the Indians dominating in Game 1, and then the Cubs came back and dominated Game 2 to tie it up. Game 3 of the World Series, the Indians were able to dig out a 1-run win, and they followed that with a 5-run win in Game 4, giving them a 3-1 lead in the World Series, giving them a 91% chance to win the World Series. But the Cubs did not give up. They eked out Game 5 win, and then they dominated Game 6, 9-3, leading to Game 7 in Cleveland in front of 38,000 fans and millions more watching at home, as they were either going to see history be made or a great blunder be made. Now, what's unique about a Game 7 or a final game in any professional sport is you pull out all the stops. And especially unique in baseball, where you have a starting pitcher and then you usually have relievers and closers in the pitching game. Well, usually your best pitchers are your starters or your closers. And in a final game, you can throw all your starters in to try to see if you can eke out this win. And that's exactly what the Cubs were trying to do. Put out their best starters for their best chance to win. And coming into the game, and Kyle Hendricks started for the Cubs, but Joe Madden, the Cubs manager, had already told everyone that they were planning on bringing in their ace, John Lester, midway through the game to try to finish out, pulling out all the stops. And the game started off great for the Cubs, as Dexter Fowler hit a lead-off home run over the center field wall, giving the Cubs a 1-0 lead, and marking the first time a player hit a leadoff home run in a Game 7 of a World Series. But it only took a couple innings for the Cleveland Indians, Carlos Santana, to hit an RBI single to tie the game up 1-1. Then in the 4th inning, the Cubs would go on to score 2 more runs. And in the following inning, Javier Baez homered over the right field wall to increase their lead 4-1. But they weren't over. After a wild pitch, the runners would advance and be driven in by a single by Ben Zubertz, making their lead even larger, 5-1. But the 6th inning, the Indians were starting to make a comeback. John Lester had come in for Hendricks and struggled to settle in and allowed 2 runs, making the score 5-3. But John Lester would settle down and make it all the way to the 8th inning. And with the score 6-3 and only 4 outs remaining, then Aroldis Chapman, their closer, who hadn't given up a home run all year. And despite his heavy workload the previous game and the whole postseason, they just needed 4 more outs. But unfortunately, with a runner on, Rajah Davis connected with one of his fastballs with a line drive over the wall, giving them a 2-run shot, tying the game 6-6. Chapman would settle things down get out of the inning. Take it into the ninth, they would shut each other down. And being tied 6-6, they went into extra innings. Now, briefly after the ninth inning, there was a rain delay, extending the game even more. But it allowed the chance for the teams to prepare to how they were going to attack this time. And Jason Hayward of the Cubs actually gave an empowering speech to the Cubs while in the locker room, helping motivate the team, as he was one of the highest paid players on the team, but had one of the worst seasons of his career and wasn't being much help on the field. But if you could motivate the team, maybe that would be all they needed. So after about a 20-minute rain delay, they would resume play with everyone on the edge of their seat. Kyle Schwarber would lead off with a single and be pinch run by Albert Almora Jr., who would advance to second on a flyout, and Ben Zubit would hit a double down the left field line, allowing Almora to score, giving them the lead 7-6. And then Miguel Montero would hit a single to score another run, giving them the lead 8-6, putting all the pressure on the Indians. If they did not score 2 runs or more in the bottom of the 10th, the Cubs would win the World Series. But the Indians didn't give up. With the runner on base, Davis singled again, allowing them to score again, bringing the score within 1. And with a tying run on base, Cubs pitcher Mike Montgomery came in to try to finish out the game. With Michael Martinez at the plate, he was able to get him to hit a grounder to third, where Chris Bryant was able to field the ball and throw a clean throw to first, giving the Cubs their first World Series since 1908. And after this, the Cubs celebrated like crazy. It was the longest streak for a team to win a World Series. They pulled out all the stops. They spent millions of dollars. They brought in people from the Red Sox that broke their curse to beat this Billy Goat curse. They did everything they could, and the city of Chicago celebrated. As when they held their parade back in Chicago after winning the World Series, over 5 million people showed up, which was enough to be 7th all-time for the largest gathering of humans in history, just showing how much that Chicago and Cubs fans had been waiting and were ready to celebrate with the team. And today's episode was the most requested episode by far we have ever had. And here's a list of everyone that requested this episode. And thank you for your request. And if you want to request an episode, please leave us a review wherever you're listening and tell us a topic in the review you would like us to cover so we can get that done just for you. So I want to thank from Twitter, Larry Lambert, Kurt Langle, at JoshN101, at RacinMG, Greg McManus, Alex Frank, Joseph Malecki, Corey Zinblack, Mike Bell, Alex Pat. And I want to thank you all for suggesting the topic. And feel free to reach out to us on our socials to also suggest a topic as we continue to grow, and we want you to be a part of our community. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow on Daily Sports History. And did you catch the answer to today's trivia question? Where does the Cubs World Series parade rank in size of the largest gatherings of human people in history? And the answer is it ranks 7th all time, where they had over 5 million people in attendance.